damn, dude, Armin throws off the balance of these fights so disgustingly. Because anytime in my head, I'm like, oh, well, what if I'm like, oh, we do have a nuke. And then after the nuke, there's a Colossal Titan.
Yeah.
AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah. Open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boys Isaiah.
Ohio.
And Gavin.
What is Gucci shoes?
And today we're talking Attack on Titan, episode 67, Assassin's Bullet. This one was a downer in a lot of ways, but I mean, this show kind of has this depressing feel, especially as of late, and will probably continue to do so going all the way throughout it, but it is a masterpiece nonetheless, and we're here to talk about it today. So if you guys enjoy the discussion, make sure you guys are throwing a like on this video. If you're new here, subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, because the more the merrier, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What part of this episode had a profound impact on you? Because there was a lot of craziness that happened within it. Where do you think the show is going from here? If you're a manga reader, please don't spoil anything. Be civil. We're curious to hear all those comments down below. And speaking of comments, we have our comment of the video. For those of you who don't know, at the end of our episodes, we will ask a question that pertains to the show that we are covering, so i.e. Attack on Titan for this. If you answer the question, we'll know that you watched till the end of this video, and then say your comment, and you might just get it read on next week's episode. So this week's comment of the video comes by Nikki. Our question was, I don't know what it was, but I know Aaron Kruger was the answer.
What was the name of the person who had the Attack Titan before Grisha?
Correct. Thank you. Yes, and that was Aaron Kruger. Nikki says, everybody say thank you to all the people at WIT, MAPPA, Isayama Sensei, and his editor for making this beautiful, wonderful masterpiece of a story. Interesting theories. You will soon find out more about the mysterious secrets for Zeke. Seeing what you did there, hey, JK, it's just a term coined by the manga readers. I love how the show is no longer about passing judgment on what's right or wrong, because both sides are no longer just plain good or bad. Both are fighting for what they believe in, and yet we, as the third-party perspective, can understand why they are doing it. No matter how you look at it, whichever side wins is still going to have a massive consequence in the end, at the end of the day. Also got to give mad props to Gabby, Falco, and Porco's voice actors. Fantastic job they did. Funny to imagine how Aaron's VA must be super relieved after not having to scream a lot so far anyways. So that was a fantastic comment. Chose that one because that had just a lot of chock full stuff in there. First of all, hats off, seriously, to MAPPA, WIT, all the people that have come together to give us this fantastic story in animated form, and I love your thoughts there. Thank you so much for watching our episode in its entirety. You're one of the real ones. But yeah, anyway, with that being said, let's get into this discussion here. So just starting right from the rip, we've been talking about this off camera, but there's really not too much to talk about. I'm not gonna lie, I was dead wrong, in the sense that, well, not dead wrong, I was like half wrong. We knew Reiner was going to lose, and I thought it was going to be more like Aaron molly-whopping the living shiznij out of him and just looking terrible in front of everyone. But I guess the more I think about it, I'm like, well, he kind of already did that job, so I guess, you know, if he did it to Reiner or not, like, it's already set in stone what the people think about him. So it makes sense, but yeah, I didn't expect Reiner to get, like, flattened in one punch, literally, for the bottom jaw to be just broke off. But it makes sense. It's fitting. It's almost like this. It reminds me, if anyone has seen Star Wars, what is the animated show? It's not the Clone Wars, though. Rebels, Star Wars Rebels. When, spoiler alert, when Obi-Wan Kenobi fights Darth Maul at the end, and it's like, you think that there's this big rivalry, and you think it's going to be like, okay, here it is, the final clash. But like, it really happens within the course of 2 seconds. And it's like, it's not necessarily there to highlight the awe-inspiring craziness of the fight. It's there to, you know, kind of just pay this final and last homage to these two characters that have just duked it out since day one, and just be like, it's done. We're putting this to rest right now. And that's kind of the vibes I got from this fight, or lack thereof, this punch that we had. But it was interesting to see Reiner taking away Porco, the Jaw Titan, from Eren and being like, that's the last life you take, you know, today. Like, this is it. I'm taking this away. And Eren, while he says he's out of energy, I totally think he could have went over and eaten them probably, or killed him. I could be wrong, but he's basically like, I'm out of energy. Couldn't kill Reiner anyway. Like, we're just gonna drop it. He comes out and just lets Reiner just take a dirt nap, I guess, or just, you know, just take a nap. Whether he's dead or he's alive, whatever, he just lets him kind of go out on that moment, because Reiner kind of just makes this, to me, at least the way it spoke to me, was like he makes this decision in the end where it's like, I'm not trying to take more life. If I could just do anything to save one, like, that's it. I'm done here. And to be fair, even if he wanted to take a life, he probably couldn't have anyway, given the situation. But at least that's how it spoke to me. Curious to know your guys' thoughts, and then leading into the rest of the episode, what other thoughts you guys had.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like, especially after the very last shot of this episode, that the whole, like, I'm out of energy thing was just, like, kind of, you know, was Eren lying. Because I think, especially once he saw that Reiner's intent was never to attack Eren, but it was specifically to, like, fake him out and make him think that, so that he could save Porco. Eren saw that and was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm not here to just, like, brutally kill people like some people think he is. I'm here, you know, I have a mission, and that mission's done. We came for the Warhammer Titan. I came for the Warhammer Titan. That's done. Let's go. And so, like, that's why he ducked out. Yeah, and I think it definitely speaks to Reiner's character. I mean, we know Reiner's just out. He's done. He's not, you know, he's at his mental and physical and psychological wit's end here, where it's like, I don't, like you said, even if, like, that was the mission and, like, Reiner had to kill somebody, I don't even know if he could bring himself, like, physically to do it, because I think he's just so done. He's so tired of this conflict and like what it's done to him and all that stuff. I mean, like, I think he probably would have just camped out in that little, like, hand cocoon thing had Gabby and Falco not, like, been fucking screaming his name and shit to wake him up. Yeah, he's just done. And I, you know, like you, was like, oh, this was going to be a very, like, Eren's going to make Reiner know that, like, we're done here. There's no more fighting after today. But it, like, wasn't even really a fight. He just kind of put him in the ground. Yeah. And I guess that also means we're right about, like, that transformation or that version of it is kind of like this weird pseudo, because clearly that armor is not as strong as it normally is. I mean, granted, Eren had the hardening, like with his fist, but yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
And also, just to add real quick, now that Falco and Gabby are both on the blimp and Reiner is back at home, kind of throws a wrench into the whole theory of Gabby or Falco getting the Armored Titan, at least for now. I'm curious if one of them do get it, how they meet again, like how, you know, that works. And Eren does say something along the lines of, like, I'll see you again or something like that, or until next time,
like,
something.
see you later,
yeah, something like that. So I'm curious. But Gavin, what were your thoughts on the episode? First impressions, if you want to talk about that. Anything else? Take it away.
I mean, there's nothing really more to add about that. I mean, it's honestly
talk about something else,
like,
then.
I want to talk about Gabby.
Go for
after
it.
watching said fight and taking it upon herself to grab a rifle and run after the blimp, which was kind of crazy, badass. And I mean, badass, you could take that however you want it to be, not in the sense that she killed my girl. However, prior to that, it was obviously kind of crazy how she sniped Fodder B, who was hanging from the bottom, like, I'm gonna stay down and I'm gonna, like, clear the way for the blimp. And then she just headshot, like, takes him to the ground. Like, you could tell they've been training them since they were young, and that kind of just showcased their prodigies, because I don't know if anybody shot a gun, but, like, shooting someone swinging in the air, like, that brings on a whole nother level of just, like, impossibleness.
And that far, too.
And that far. Insane. So, obviously, she's got a stupid amount of talent and crazy, like, honestly scary skill. But it was really cool, the interaction that they had when she was holding the ODM gear, or at least what allowed her to rappel back into the blimp with Falco. And, you know, Falco is kind of going back in what happened with Reiner and Eren in the basement, and is, like, kind of toiling with the fact that these could just be normal people like us, and that they are. And Gabby is that, like, extreme in the matter of, no, they're devils, they'll always be devils, there's no changing that thought. And then it's cool having this water and oil, like, mixed together, especially when they had the same upbringing in many senses. I'm not talking about parents, I just mean, like, literal place. They're, like, they have a similar situation, and it's cool seeing the perspective flipped based off of just the experiences that they've had together. And it really shows just how brainwashed the Eldians on the Marleyan side are, and that they, you know, until you have Eren blow up in your face with Reiner in the basement scene, like, they could have just all lived their whole lives thinking that, you know, like, the Eldians are devils and we're devils and we need to redeem ourselves. So it's just, it really, like, solidifies that change of mindset that people have, and just, like, what not knowing the truth can do to people, and just, like, brainwashing as a whole. So definitely crazy. I don't even want to keep on going because I'm not talking about Sasha right now. I'll hand that over to you guys, but I did like that.
Yeah, no, good thoughts. There was something I wanted to talk about because I think the conversation and the scenes that highlighted Gabby and Falco on the ground before they got into the blimp were very curious and definitely shed some light on some of the themes that I think are brought to the forefront within this show and this story. And first of all, I thought it was interesting, and this is a moral, maybe not a moral, but a question that I'd like to bring up to people that are watching or listening as well. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because if there's one thing I love about the story of the show is the amount of conversation, these intricate, loops that can be navigated around. And so the question really comes, so I made a comment during the live reaction at some point, and you said, you're like, if you say what I think you're saying, I agree, right? But I was like, I'll save it for the discussion. It was at the moment, paraphrasing here, when Falco tries to say whatever, and Gabby is basically like, I was going to show them that Eldians are something that like we could be proud to wear this armband eventually. I can do what it takes to make people, to sway people's minds. And to me at that moment, I'm curious to hear thoughts. It was very sad to hear that, because I feel like I've heard that same sort of rhetoric by Reiner would be an example. And I also feel like maybe even Ezekiel in his younger days, although I'm more speculating on that one, probably had similar thoughts. And it's very sad because it's like the way that these characters like Gabby, etc., go about this is that they think all I have to do is be able to be subservient, win, be obedient, and be, a good person in that moment. And more than that, like, do what I have to do for the motherland, for whatever, and people will turn around. It's going to be some big awakening. And it's very sad to see that, because to me, it's not the answer, and it never will be, unfortunately. And if we've seen any example of Reiner, these people are going to classify them, unfortunately, as devils for the remainder of their days. And to me, it really comes down, it's going to come down to someone like, maybe like a Falco or something like that, to hopefully turn the tide in that way, in sort of a philosophical sense. But it's really sad to see these people caught in this eternal loop and cycle where they think it's like, okay, maybe if I'm just good enough, if I follow orders, if I do what I have to do in my lifetime here, if I go save the world like Reiner, people are finally going to change. This is going to be the last, straw that broke the camel's back here. Like, this is what it's going to take. And it's just really sad to see that cycle again repeated through Gabby. You know what I mean? In that moment, it's really unfortunate. It brings up the moral dilemma of like, I feel like this fight was brewing for a long time, and it was really unavoidable in that sense. And in my opinion, King Rhys trying to go away and seclude everyone and stuff like that, it was only a matter of time before things happen. And then again, it brings you to the question, okay, to me, there are two options. It's either you don't get over the sins that your ancestors committed, you lay down and die, so that the rest of the world can flourish, continue to do what it has to do, or you fight for the freedoms that you had, because you say, listen, I am me. This is what the circumstances are, and I'm not just gonna, fall over. So I think it's an interesting parallel there between the two. I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on it, or people, that are watching, but I thought that was a very interesting conversation that they had, and quite a sad one personally.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I think because with one of the obvious, I guess, things that the show hints at with Falco's character as to why he's such a focal point, like you were saying, is because he does seem to be one of the only characters that is trying to look at both sides of this fight here, at both agendas, and figure out, like, all right, what actually matters here? Like, why are all of these people doing this? Why have they been doing this? Because I think a lot of people will point to the fact that, like, oh, well, Falco was in the basement with Aaron and Reiner, and he got all that backstory from Reiner. So, like, of course he'd be thinking differently, but Gabby didn't get that. And it's like, well, sure, but I'd be hard-pressed to think that even if Gabby heard that, she'd be willing to listen or would even believe it.
No.
Because Falco literally tells her that same exact story, and she 100%, without skipping a beat, is like, do you have proof? Well, then how do you know it's a lie? And it's like, that's the problem. Isn't that, like, people, it's like, oh, all these Eldians grew up under the Marleyan thumb, so to speak. So, like, that's it. Like, that's their scapegoat. They don't know any better. And it's like, there's part of it does come to you as an individual, because you have to be open enough and you have to be willing to take in and accept other possibilities as reality. The second you close off your mind and are like, no, this is it. Everybody's told me this has to be the only way. That like that's why Falco's character works in the sense because he's not. If once he gets more information and once he hears another side of the story, he is willing to be like, well, okay, wait a minute, could that be true? You know what I mean? And it's that kind of intuitiveness that's going to change the cycle. This whole cycle has been repeated by people like Gabby for decades and decades and decades. It's not going to change with someone like her because she's not actively doing anything to like give the people of Paradise any ground, give them any sort of, reliable footing to stand on in terms of like that they're anything more than just the devils of Paradise Island.
And I want to add a little bit because I do agree with what you're saying. However, I also want to make it abundantly clear how, especially in the situation that Gabby and Falco are in their upbringing, they can't be as open-minded as one would like them to be. So, and we saw back with Falco early on where he's kind of had a conversation, I believe it was with Reiner, when he was like showing, not sensitivity, but an open-mindedness to the other side in that, there might be something more than what we know or have known. And Reiner got a little aggressive with him. And, we were sitting back and we were like, oh, is he testing him? Like, what is this? And the reality is we saw it with Reiner talking about his family. And even with the most like transparent way of not saying that they're good people around it, everybody got really pissed off to the point where they will kill you. Like, if you do not share this mindset, you will get axed. So although it is important 100% for Falco's mindset to then bring on change, you also can't deny the situation that they're in with their upbringing, especially when they're not accepting of different opinions and different situations of that nature. So I personally am not going to fault Gabby for thinking what she is or what her mindset in this situation, because she is in a situation where if she does think differently, she will be punished by society, literally by death. It isn't a matter of, oh, she's not thinking outside the box or, applying herself differently. Although, yes, like in very base level terms, it is a possibility. We see it with Falco, and he has it. However, I do not expect everyone to share that mindset or be able to, especially in the life or death situation that they're in, where they're literally being subjugated by these people, living horribly. We saw back in the last season, eaten by dogs, beaten by guards, all these horrible things happen. Like, yeah, I think some people would be blind or just not want or like really go think about the other side and the way they do things. Like, although it's not right, and I do appreciate Falco's mindset and I do agree with his mindset and everything that you just said, I don't think it's as easy as, oh, they just need to think of the perspective of the other side, because I feel it's very easy said than done, especially regarding their situation that they're in, being on the Marleyan side. So that is my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I think there are definitely things in there to highlight, and it definitely makes it harder for them to be vocal, I think, about, obviously, if they have some different frame of mind. We do see that within Reiner and his parents. To be fair, just to clarify, the scene with Falco and Reiner, he does that more in the sense of, like, I get it, but like, you need to shut up because if anyone else hears you.
Well, I understand, but that's like the whole point.
No, I get it. So I get, just to clarify, in case anyone in the that's watching was confused on that. But I do think there is something to be said about the difference between having a potential opinion and being vocal with an opinion. And I think that when it comes to the conversation specifically with Falco and Gabby in that moment, the very telling thing for me when I watch that is that, of course, Falco can't have those sorts he can't expound upon those sorts of thoughts with his family, with his friends, etc. But in that moment, Gabby necessarily doesn't really have anything to hide, right? In that moment, Gabby doesn't have anything to hide from. She doesn't have any family breathing down her neck. This is war. Things have come to a boiling point. And I think the stark contrast between the two is that Gabby, even probably given that chance in that moment, opposed to Falco, the line that really sticks with me is like, well, did you see it? And he goes, well, no. Knowing clearly his answer was going to be no. And she says, then they're devils. Like, that's it, right? And so I think the difference between Gabby, unfortunately, is that Gabby, through her immense hatred and rage, and she's justified to be pretty pissed. I mean, a lot of them are. Her friend just got killed in front of her. There's a lot that's going on. But I think, unfortunately, Gabby, instead of, making an attempt on the level of Falco, which isn't easy to do, but nonetheless, here we are, unfortunately contributes to that never-ending cycle in the 100%. Sense that she's like, you know what, Falco, like, I kind of don't give a shit about what you had to say. Like, you didn't see it. we're killing them. Like this is it. It's definitely hard for them to speak out. But I think if you know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but at least that's what I interpreted from it. Where it's like that's the difference. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting scene for sure, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below on that one. You know, because there was a lot of stuff going on within that scene. But should we talk about the blimp?
We can.
Okay.
So Sasha's dead.
Yeah.
I want to take a minute to
Pour one out.
But to also curse all of you in the comments because who completely robbed that moment from me, because in the last reaction I made like a comment when I think you were like, oh, it's got to be Mikasa, and I was like, no, they got to go for somebody like Sasha, and everybody was like, oh, he gonna be singing a different tune in the next episode. And I was like, is it because Sasha died? Like, is that what you're telling me?
Now, to be fair, before we get everyone hating us, I just want to clarify that the reaction channel was really where we got a bulk of those comments. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Which the AoA show, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I'm
I didn't want to
assuming
like
there's
demonize.
crossover
Like,
that, like,
yeah, but a lot of people
watching
from the
this.
Reacts channel who came.
My
and said
point
that,
being is that death I feel could have hit harder for me, but didn't, because I was robbed of the suspense or sheer surprise of that moment. Sure. But like it still did suck, you know. Like I said before, Sasha was one of the homies.
I just love that 180. You're like, I got robbed. It still did suck though. It's like just that.
Well, it did. Well, I
Sam's
feel like
mad
the
salty
difference
about
is
that. I
I
don't
could have
blame
been
you.
like,
Yeah.
I could have actually been like, oh, like hit by it emotionally,
Yeah.
and now it was like I knew it was gonna happen. I just visually had to see how it was gonna happen.
It's tough when you're a content creator and you put yourself out in the arena, because we know that you're playing with fire in that respect. But it still sucks when it does happen. You know what I mean? And it's like, we want to be able to engage with the commenters and all that sort of thing. And again, this is primarily on the reaction channel because people stop by, they're not even subscribed, and they'll just like drop a spoiler and leave. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to do anything. They have anonymity in that sense. A lot of the guys who come over and the girls who come over to the AoA show and want to hear a 30-minute discussion, for the most part, are going to take the time to be a little more respectful and mindful and all that kind of stuff. But I don't blame you for being salty in that regard. It does suck, especially when we waited this long for that. You know, so definitely just be mindful.
Yeah, 100%. I will say, though, that, you know, while, like I said, Sasha's death was sad. It was sad, like, visually still to see and like, the way it folds out. I was much more, like, taken aback by the impact, like, how a lot of the characters responded to her death. Yeah. Because you had people like Connie and Jean who are, you know, main cast members in the sense that, like, we know their names and we've sort of, like, grown up with them past seasons. But, like, you know, they're no Mikasa. They're no Eren. They're no, you know, almost approach this of, like, this is ridiculous. Like, how many more times do I have to see this happen to somebody's name that I know and somebody I've grown up with before, like, this is just done, for I don't have to worry about this anymore. But then you have people like, and like, I don't know, I feel like let's take like Levi. I feel like Levi has gotten to the point where he has I mean, and we still do see him react to it, obviously, because, you know, he's the commander here in this mission, right? Soldier dies on your watch. That's tough to take no matter how many times it happens. Sure. But we know Levi can steel himself, I guess, a little bit more when it comes to this stuff, that, you know, compared to, you know, and it's different, right? Like Jean to Sasha, Connie to, like, they grew up in the same, but, like, you know what I mean? They were in the same squad and all that. But the main one for me, and I guess obviously for the episode, is Eren, right? Because Eren came over here with a mission, and that it was come hell or high water, that mission needs to get accomplished, right? He was comfortable taking as many lives as he had to get that mission done, right? Which is not to be confused with, I'm going to take as many lives as I can and do this mission. It was like, once the mission's done, which we saw again at the beginning of this episode with Reiner, that's it. I'm not out here to just start killing people for the sake of killing people. Mission's done, got the Warhammer Titan, peace. But, you know, Jean has that line where he's like, Eren, Sasha's dead because of you. Like, this whole thing is your fault. And it's like, you know, that is the tough part of this, no matter what side you're on, no matter what, because both sides have done this at this point, right? Obviously, neither side is, like, innocent to this. Of, like, the loss of life as a consequence to either your call, your actions, your mission, your plan, and, you know, however noble in the sense of, like, the fight for freedom that Eren's fight were, like, this is not gonna be something that goes away. It's not gonna be something that is gonna become alien to them. They're gonna see their friends die, their comrades, their soldiers die, and I wonder what kind of toll it's ultimately going to have on Eren. Like, I wonder which side it's going to push him into, or what camp rather. And so that's why I think it's interesting that the kids are actually with them now and are, you know, seemingly going to be going back with them.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if, because those kids essentially represent like Eren's psyche in a way, at least to me, right? Where it's like you've got Gabby who represents like Eren's rage and his brutality and his like, no, we're going over to this island and we're stomping on every single one of them until we get our freedom, or we take it by force. But Falco, I think, represents the analytical side of Eren that, while maybe very faint, I do think it's still in there. And that moment, again, with Reiner, and even the moment of grief he shares with Sasha is telling of that, right? Eren is still clearly conflicted enough about the two sides where I think his interactions with these kids are going to be important going forward, because it's going to tell us and it's going to ultimately lead to what side of that Eren, you know, does Eren side with Gabby and being like, you know what, fuck it, like, that's it, let's just go, let's just fight, I don't care, you and me right now, or Falco, where it's like, let's sit down and let's talk and let's think about another way to do this, because this isn't going to end when we both die if we just keep fighting.
Yeah. No, very good thoughts on that. Did you have anything on that, Kevin?
No, I'm curious, obviously, to see what happens when Falco and Gabby get to Paradise Island and how their perspectives are now going to change, because we obviously know the direction that Falco's going in, and how, you know, seeing these people in real life live is going to open his eyes in many ways that he might have been feeling were possible, or what have you. So he is going to get that change. I'm really curious on Gabby and if she is going to have a change of reference based off of everything that she knows, especially calling all the Eldians devils. Is she gonna obviously, for the beginning, she's gonna carry that sentiment and be like, you all suck, like F you, blah 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 blah, you're devils. I'm curious if being more assimilated in society with them, seeing their day-to-day, changes that mindset. I feel like it's not going to, just based off of the type of character that like she's molded as right now. But I do wonder what happens, you know, with the conversation of Zeke, because obviously he is highly regarded, like that's their commander, and seeing his mindset and everything that he displays forward, how they're going to interpret it and process it, and really just creates the development of them as people. So that is going to be very interesting, as well as Zeke, what you doing, bro? Like, because we kind of had good thoughts that he was getting captured, and, you know, for me it was solidified when, you know, Levi, they went back when he pulled Eren in and he looked at him and he's like, yeah, like, we got your part of the plan is completed, and they had like the mist coming out of the room. It was like, okay, that was him healing from the transforming.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, what has been your game plan? Because obviously when Eren got there, that's the person he was sending the letters to, at least one of the few that were, we know that he was sending letters to him. So I'm curious, is it like a plan that's been brewing right when Eren got on the, like when he got to Marley? Is it like, how did he have this chain of communication with letters? Because I'm sure it's not just like, yeah, let me go put a letter in the mailbox and just sign it for Zeke, you know, or have someone do it. Like, I'm sure there had to be a couple people in the middle who were like able to direct said message. So does that mean that Zeke also had different people who were maybe higher up who were also a part of this plan, or have knowledge of it?
I think that this next episode will be very telling on that. If you know, my prediction is right, in the sense that it looked like there were a lot of flashbacks to the fleet that goes over there and were turncoats against the Marleyan people. I would be not very surprised if they show Ezekiel, or I keep on calling him Ezekiel, I'm sorry, if they show Zeke's intentions and what letters or whatever were sent. But it definitely looks like the plan was really solidified through Eren when he has the baseball glove and the baseball, and clearly there was some communication going on there once he was there. And I really find it interesting. And it was also, it seems to be confirmed that, you know, Levi was in on this plan. And he's like, you are a damn good actor considering you want to kill my ass, you know? And I think it's hilarious, the play between Levi and Zeke, because Levi beat the piss out of him the first time. And Levi just, you know, this like cold demeanor, and Zeke is like pretty damn quick-witted. It's pretty funny, like how he just throws zingers out there. So he's like, oh, I need to piss my pants at this point, right? Like, you better be careful, you're gonna be pissing myself. Like, that interaction to me was already hilarious, and I hope that provides some sort of comedic relief throughout the course of this. But I'm really curious, because now I thought it was kind of badass to see Eren and Zeke next to each other, because they are brothers. And so now that Eren has the Founding Titan, and he said, and now we have royal blood, it's like, now you can use it. Now you're going to be able to wreak havoc. And we know that the Founding Titan is the most busted Titan out of all of them for the mind games that it could play and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that it could straight up control them on a dime. So what's his plan here? Is it like, you know, I don't know how do they gonna incorporate that, right? Does he touch Zeke, you know what I mean? And then he could do whatever. Is there a plan where they're like considering giving Eren up as food to Zeke? Like, I don't know, like crazy wild theories could ensue here, but like they need to at least be in contact, or one of them has to have both. And the thing is that Eren does not have royal blood, so he has to either be in contact with them or he can't utilize it.
Eren eats Zeke, does that count
I don't
as him
know.
getting
I was
royal
thinking
blood?
about that at first, but
I'm like, why would they
think so.
consider Eren getting eaten before Zeke getting eaten?
Well, that was my thing. I don't think, because I think Eren has to have the royal blood like genetically flowing through him, in the sense that like if he ate him, I think he's just stealing the Beast Titan ability and not his royal blood. You know what I mean, per se. At least that's my prediction. I don't think that it works like that, but I could be wrong if anyone has clarification.
Because with the Warhammer Titan,
that's my thought.
Like
I thought
that's
that was
all.
the
That's the
royal
only thing he
blood.
consumed was the blood. Because
Yeah.
that bitch got crushed like instantaneously.
Yeah.
So could the same thing not be said for consuming Zeke's blood? You still get the royal blood, and
But wouldn't
Well,
he
that's
already
the thing
have
I
it?
say is that I think he gets the Beast Titan. Like, I think the blood gives you the ability of the Titan, but I don't think that he gets the like ability of royal blood. Like, you have to be born with that. That is a genetic thing that's inherent to you. That's my guess. Anyway, at it, because I think it'd be I think they're gonna make it more complicated than that. You know what I mean? That it's like they can't just go through with it.
Well, because
because then he'd already have it, in the sense that Eren's father, Grisha, ate the girl that was a royal, and he couldn't utilize the Founding Titan like that still.
No. Well, my thing is, I think you have to consume somebody with royal blood. Like if like your dad consumes somebody and then you consume.
Well,
like,
that's
it's
what
not
I'm
like a
saying.
chain thing.
Grisha couldn't do anything
Yeah.
with it. So if that was the case, then Grisha should have been able to utilize the Founding Titan, which he just ate along with the royal blood that it just came with, to be able to utilize its power. So the fact that Grisha couldn't utilize it, I don't think means that it works like that. But anyway, yeah.
I wonder what like kind of top level security they're gonna need for Zeke, because obviously Levi is mad at him for a reason. He took out Erwin and the entire army with a baseball pitch. So like now he is going back to said place that he is destroyed. And I'm sure they're not going to be happy with him changing sides or not.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's going to be a matter of they get off the ship, keep it on the DL, and Eren and Zeke are both going way underground and see what happens, you know, because we still got Annie down there too.
Yeah.
And like,
I don't know, dude.
I don't know.
Dude,
Yeah. Like,
what
we,
if
we
we get a thing where it's like Zeke, and because I'm guessing actually Peak is still alive.
Yeah, looks like she's still alive. She's still kicking.
First off, lucky. Second off, and then I guess that also means Porco is still alive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Reiner grabbed him. He's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So
he's good,
like,
he's
I
good.
wonder if this is going to be a thing where it's like Zeke and Annie are now on like their side or whatever. Because I'm be real, if Annie sees Zeke and he's like, "Yeah, I'm over here now," like, why the fuck is she going back there?
I
like
don't
I said,
know.
I don't even think her heart was in the shit from the
For her
jump.
father.
And that's when Zeke was telling her. But if she sees the chief commander, she might be like, "Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll just stay here." Where it's like we have an army now of like Titans versus Titans. So you've got like Reiner and Porco and Peak and whoever else. And then Annie and Eren and Zeke. Like, I wonder if it's going to be this thing where literally in this war is like, and we have Armin. Damn, dude, Armin throws off the balance of these fights so disgustingly. Because anytime in my head, I'm like, oh, well, what if I'm like, we do have a nuke. And then after the nuke, there's a colossal titan.
Yeah, we
So,
still
like, never
the
mind.
technology is bolt action rifles, and literally Armin just skipped an entire world war to like nuclear level. Like he just skipped like 50 years in the future.
Oh, dude, that's I
Ridiculous.
think because I'm remembering back in the earlier seasons, like, let's say the moment when we're deciding who to give the Titan serum to at the end of season 3, where Levi like grabs Eren or punches whatever, and Mikasa starts to go into like a rage, and Armin tries to like hold her back or stop her. I remember that moment in comparison to when it just happened here on the blimp, when Levi starts beating the shit out of Eren again, and Mikasa goes to like stop him, and Armin grabs her, but gives her this look, and it's like clearly very similar to the look of like you could still see like the death in his eyes, and he's like, and it's just like, I don't know, it's so, I don't want to say interesting because that sounds weird, but like different. Seeing all of these characters who we've like grown up with and we know now and have a bond with. We've seen them like fight Titans, which are these giant gross monsters, and we've seen them in the latest season fight people, but like now they actually look like soldiers. And to be honest, the only thing that's really changed from that is that they all kind of look dead inside.
Yeah.
Like,
Levi even makes the comment with Aaron. He's like, you look like the people that live underground. He's like, I
yeah.
never thought I'd see you like that, where it's
Yeah.
almost this like defeated, maybe I use the term
desperate
loosely,
almost.
like, or something where it's
They
like
just look tired. They
just,
look
like,
completely devoid
totally-
of like the ability to think happy thoughts.
Yes.
Because
very
Mikasa,
sad.
Armin, Jean, like everybody just looks tired. They
Yeah.
just look so sick of like doing this.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. Obviously, this is going to be the crux of the story, how Eren deals with all of his scouts now, or all of these scouts, in the sense that Hanj has the line where he's like, sure, you, what was it? You gained our
Like,
trust, but we
yeah.
lost trust in
The
you, or
plan
something
works
like
because
that.
you
You gained trust
trusted
in
us,
us,
but we
yeah.
lost trust
But
in
we
you.
lost trust in you. That's going to be super interesting. And the fact at the end when he's like, did Sasha have any last words? And he like chuckles for a moment, but like you knew it was like not a chuckle as in like, but then he immediately turns it into like this angry thing. So it's like
face we've seen on Gabby before.
yeah, and we still have this flame inside of him, although it's a little better aimed now. So I'm curious to know how this is going to end up with them. And he's like, we're going to tie you up. This is going to be a thing. So like they might just have him locked up now, and might be like, we could do this without you. I don't know what the deal is, but then again, that brings me back to Zeke's thing where he's like, we have the Founding Titan and royal blood. So like I think now the idea is like, what do we do with Eren? It's like, do we need Eren anymore? Like every time we come to you, we lose lives, right? And that it's going to happen, or whatever the case might be. Like I don't know if there's going to be like a split between some of the scouts in terms of like what to do with him, what he's deserving of, if he should be allowed to just go out. I don't know. And I'm curious to see how Eren handles
Armin
it psychologically.
and Mikasa are probably going to be the ones obviously to defend Eren, while because Sasha just got iced, Jean and Connie might be a little less sympathetic.
So I'm actually curious though to know if Armin is actually going to be so gung-ho to, I think he'll support him, but I don't know if he's going to be like Mikasa, where Mikasa's like, this isn't even a question, like, let him out. Whereas like Armin, and the only reason I say that is because when he holds her and he's like, you know what I mean? Like this is, where he's like begrudgingly, where he's like, yeah, it's like, this is like, this has to end. I don't know. That's just kind of pulling it out of my butt here.
Yeah, but I mean, he is substantial because they can't just get rid of Eren because he obviously holds the founding. He has all of these Titans now, including the Warhammer. So it's like they still need him for utilization.
Sure.
But it's like, how does he get his, I guess, due punishment if they believe he needs it? And how do we also keep him from being alienated from our cause and what we need to have accomplished? Because right now we're going to have a bunch of Marlians on our doorstep, given however X many time, and the world in X amount of time. So we need cooperation from Eren. However, is he going to be as obligated to now align with their plan, or does he have other stuff toiling with Zeke? And how are all of these ideologies going to clash, and who's going to make that decision? It's going to be interesting.
it's obviously going to be Levi.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, all right, Eren gets 40 kicks to the face, and then we're even.
I just love where he roundhoused him again. And like Aaron's just like, whatever. I deserve that. I've been around the block. It's like the third or fourth time this has happened to me. He's like, I just love kicking your face. It's so kickable. Says at one point. It's great. But anyway, folks, those are our thoughts on this episode 67, Assassin's Bullet, Attack on Titan. It was a crazy episode, wild ride. So if you guys did like the content, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What had a profound impact on you? What did you think of this episode in particular? Where do you think we're going from here? And obviously, if you are a manga reader, please do not spoil anything. Let others bask in the fun that is this masterpiece, Attack on Titan. Big shout out to our patrons. Couldn't do this without you guys. And a special shout out to our acolytes of anime, that's Stoic and Nathan as well. Today is the last day to cop some AoA swag, some AoA merch for 20% off. The link is in our description down below, so you don't want to miss it. Just type in the code AOA 2021 at checkout. That's AOA 2021 at checkout for 20% off of any item in the store. And in terms of a question for the end of this video, did anyone have one that rose to the top of their head?
Who died in this episode of Attack on Titan?
That's fair.
Specifically a girl. Of importance. And not just fodder B. Not like fodder B.
That is
I
valid.
was like, type Ace.
Yeah. And who didn't deserve to die this episode by name.
So, yeah.
And who should have died by... No, I'm kidding. Just keep on adding.
And who ate a potato better than anyone in this show? So answer the question, obviously, and then let us know your comment, what you thought of the episode here, and we might read it on our next discussion of Attack on Titan. You don't want to miss it. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We love your faces, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.